All right, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the R&D podcast. My name's Dalton. I'm joined here today with RJ. Today we're going to be talking about another good matchup on Sunday. Yeah. Could be a rainy game. Don't really know, but we're talking about the Miami and Notre Dame game. Notre Dame travels to Miami to Hard Rock Stadium, and what could be a really good matchup. You got interesting quarterback situations on both sides of the ball. We'll start with Notre Dame, C.J. Carr. RJ, what is your take on C.J. Carr? Do you think he's the guy?
Oh, well, he's not a no-name. He has family history, and he also won the quarterback battle. I mean, it was a tough one for him, but he won it. And I feel like he'll be Notre Dame's guy. It's going to be iffy, but because this game can cost him his job or keep his job. So we shall see Sunday.
No doubt. Speaking about his family's history, like his dad, Michigan quarterback, his grandfather, Michigan quarterback. I think it was a 1997 national championship. So he's got a pretty good lengthy history of being two good quarterbacks in his family.
Yeah.
Just looking at some of his tape, like from the spring game, because that's really about all we have on him, really and truly. But accuracy with the football, he can put it about wherever you want to.
Yeah.
Smart with the football most of the time. But just like any young quarterback, you get a little pressure on him. He could get a little antsy. Yeah. You don't really know what you have in that regard.
Right.
But he's a larger frame guy, 6'3".
Yeah.
So he has a lot of potential to do a lot of great things. Whenever you're accompanied in the backfield by a guy like Jeremiah Love, I mean, that speaks volumes. What do you think about Jeremiah Love and how he can affect this game?
He can affect this game by running wise and receiving wise. So it's hard to stop the best back in college football. So,
yeah. I mean, you got Jeremiah Love behind him. You got Jadarian Price, who's a really fundamentally and sound running back to be a backup. I mean, you'll see him get some touches whenever, like Love got beat up a little bit last year. Every now and then, especially lower body injuries was a big deal for him. But Jeremiah Love's special in the fact that this man can jump over an offensive lineman and make a hard cut, and it'll look like he stayed on the ground the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got breakaway speed. This kid's going to bust a couple runs out in this game, I'm sure. A couple 20-yard runs, a couple 10, 15-yard runs. He's going to make a difference with his legs. Yes. And Miami definitely knows this going into the game.
But that's where you got to know that Miami's going to be prepared for that. So Notre Dame's going to have to do more passing and attacking than running. I mean, you still stick with the rush, but just be prepared that Miami's going to be ready for the rush.
No doubt. And you have a guy like Jaden Greathouse, right? He comes from a national championship game, 6 receptions, I want to say 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. He almost won the national championship for him.
Right. Also, transfer Malachi Fields.
Yeah.
Pretty good receiver.
So, I mean, they have a good offense, really and truly. I mean, they have it pieced together. The offensive line is pretty decent. What else are you seeing from this Notre Dame team that makes them stand out, that could potentially put them over Miami?
Defense.
Yeah.
Notre Dame secondary is going to be a very legit, probably number 1 in the nation. So that's another big thing for Notre Dame this game.
No doubt. Now, somebody that we haven't talked about, right? The guy that everybody is wondering about. Went over for the Cavinder twins. Cavinder twins didn't work out. So now we're stuck in Miami being the quarterback. I say stuck in Miami. He's got a pretty good deal going on there. And who wouldn't want to be in Miami, Florida? I mean, it's a beautiful place. And, I mean, just who wouldn't want to be there, right? It's probably a lot better there than it is in Alabama, quite frankly.
I guess so.
A little bit of a dig there. But you have a lot of transfer portal add-ons. A lot of people switch out. I mean, you replace 5 in the secondary. Five out, 5 in.
Missed the whole spring.
Yeah, Carson Beck. I mean, Miami's had a whole lot of the shake-up in the transfer portal. But talking more in about Carson Beck, like you're just saying, he misses the whole spring. You have 4 wide receivers that go out to the draft, or 2 for the Xavier Restrepo. You lose a guy who's one of the best receivers in college football.
Right.
So as far as chemistry with Carson Beck, that's my biggest question, right? And you don't practice all spring. And like Cam Ward, looking back at Cam Ward last year, you saw when Cam Ward had to improvise, his receivers knew where they needed to go.
He knew where they needed to go.
Exactly. And it was
like a lot of chemistry going on there.
It was almost like they had headsets in each other's helmets telling them, like, hey, cut back this way, whatever. Get to this spot.
Right.
And now it's common sense in football. I understand that to be able to run with your quarterback, get to an open spot. But he made it look so effortless. And that
Yeah.
was why he was your number one pick. That's why the Tennessee Titans are playing him, and he's doing great in preseason, and he's going to be a leader for that team.
Right.
But Carson Beck, do we see the same thing out of him? And Carson Beck has some of the best mechanics in college football as a quarterback. I mean, he is a beautiful quarterback to watch throw the football, but sometimes he makes some very questionable decisions in the fact of like throwing in a triple coverages when you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like with Georgia last year in the Alabama game, right? That's one that we know. They almost came back in the second half. He played a hell of a game in the second half, but the first half, they threw the game away.
Yeah.
You put yourself down that much, it's hard to mount a comeback, in which Kirby Smart and that Georgia team almost did, and Bryant Denny, which about made me cry. The emotion
excited.
changes, right?
I was excited.
Okay. But you know what I'm saying, though? Carson Beck starts off that game a little bit better. The Georgia offense in general starts off that game a little bit better. It could be a whole different story. But moving into Miami defense, right?
Very inconsistent last year. So, what do you think with the transfers that's coming in? What do you think Miami's defense is going to look like, or go against this Notre Dame defense? Offense.
And not only the transfers, but you got a guy like Corey Heatherman, whatever you want to say, but he came from Minnesota last year. If you look back at some of their games, I mean, they had a close game with Penn State, close game with Illinois. I can't even remember who else. USC when they were ranked 11 at the time. Minnesota had a great year. He's coming off a couple years where he's done very well. I mean, traditionally he's really good against the run.
Minnesota has a two-way kid, don't they?
Yeah, now this year,
He's a big look.
A lot of people have been giving him a lot of yells, but I think they picked up the right transfers that they needed. They got a veteran, and I think it was Charles Brentley. They got some length and Emmanuel. They add a couple good pieces into the cornerback room for sure. And then also you got a guy coming off the edge, Reuben Bain, one of the best edge rushers in college football. You look back at this guy's highlights from last year, and he is violent with his hands off the ball. He's quick off the ball, twitchy. He would get in the backfield. He would shoot. I mean, you talk about whenever you get past the offensive lineman, being able to get around him and get to the quarterback when the quarterback's trying to make a move up into the pocket. He was still able to bend that corner and get a handout, and he caused a lot of turnovers, and a lot of big plays were made by Miami's defense last year that honestly saved them some games.
So do you think Miami's defense can stop Notre Dame's rush attack and Notre Dame's good offensive line?
That's a hard question to answer, because looking at paper, who's stopping? I mean, there's very few teams in the country that can stop Notre Dame's offense, especially if CJ Carr's playing to the best of his ability. But I think, I believe in this Miami defense. I believe in Corey. I think he's going to do great things at Miami. Maybe if it's not the beginning of the season right now, because it's hard to ask a lot out of a team first game of the season. If this is the fourth or fifth game of the season, who knows what type of I mean, this Miami team's going to develop over the season. You're going to see a better and better team each week, I feel like.
Yeah.
But as far as shutting down Notre Dame's offense, I feel like they're going to have problems. And that's why I kind of like Notre Dame in this game, because they have the better overall team, I feel like. As far as their defense is one of the best in college football. Their secondary is probably the best in college football, if not second or third.
Well, do you think if Miami's defense is consistent this year, or this game, do you think they have a chance against?
Miami definitely has a chance, right? There's no doubt about that. Yeah. Any team that's playing at home or away that's this highly ranked, there's a reason they're this highly ranked. There's a reason that people have them. And Carson Beck's a great quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No, I'm not doubting Carson Beck.
So I think there could be a lot. Like last year, this Miami offense, Damian Martinez rushes for 100 yards. 1,000 yards in the season. It was really great. I think it was 6 yards per carry. I mean, they had a good rushing attack. Then you had Mark Fletcher right behind him, I want to say.
Now you got Jordan Lyle. That's pretty explosive.
Yeah, sophomore kid's really good. Yeah. But like Mark Fletcher, he was behind him. He had 600 yards. So he had 1,600 yards in this rushing attack. Pretty good stats. You like what you see out of Fletcher, and also, like you said, Jordan Lyle has the ability to create big plays. But as far as kind of going back to that Miami defense, I feel like you gotta make CJ Carr uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This is a young guy.
Yeah.
You can't give him time in the backfield because he is proven that he can make plays. But I think you'll see a lot of trap coverages, a lot of things to be able to shift and confuse this guy. Because you want to make it as hard as you can on CJ Carr. He's said that he knows like his greatest ability is knowing where to go with the ball. And he's very confident. And there's a right to that. He's a great quarterback. But if you're, Miami's defensive coordinator, you're sitting here thinking like, I'm not going to let him think that when he walks out of here. Yeah.
The only question on CJ Carr I have is, can he get out the pocket when the pocket isn't perfect like Riley Leonard did?
Yeah.
So Riley Leonard got the pocket good, extended the play, but didn't have much of a arm like CJ Carr does. So if CJ Carr can extend plays and get out the pocket, he'll be a problem, no doubt, this year.
Now, Riley Leonard, you said that Riley Leonard didn't have a great arm. Not as good as CJ Carr.
Yes,
yes. I almost halfway disagree with. I think Riley Leonard was a great quarterback, no doubt about it. How I feel though, like you said, I think when it comes to that extra effort, like you had a competitor in Riley Leonard. Like he was there to win that ball game, no matter what it took. He'd put his body on the line if it meant they could take that game home. And I think that's what you lose. So I'm kind of curious to see if CJ Carr has that same like, hey, I'm a team leader. I'm gonna get it done for my team type mentality.
Every coach wants that from their quarterback.
Exactly. You want a leader, and that's what every coach, like you said, is calling for in college football.
And also, Notre Dame's O-line was good on the rush attack, but pass protection, they're kind of inconsistent. So it depends on that too. If Notre Dame's O-line can have more pass protection this year also.
What do you think, maybe not a stat line, but what do you think something CJ Carr needs to do to be able to win this game for Notre Dame? Do you think he needs to have a crazy game, or do you think he just needs to be a game manager in a sense?
Keep his composure and extend plays to me. So
whenever a pocket's collapsing, be able to get outside the pocket and improvise a little bit, get the ball down.
Yes.
I agree with that to some extent, and the fact that you don't want him to start overdoing that as a young quarterback, right? Like, because if he can do it and manage it, that's great.
Well, if CJ Carr just keeps his composure this game, I feel like Notre Dame has this in the bag. Because, again, Jeremiah Love, best running back in the league, and then what?
Jaden Greathouse.
No, and the other second string running back, Jadarian Price.
Yeah,
you got those two great backs, and if you can execute that and then execute passing too, what Notre Dame didn't really do last year, they can definitely win this game against Miami.
No, I definitely agree with you. Kind of looking at Carson Beck, what do you think Notre Dame's going to throw at Carson Beck, maybe try to mess with him a little bit?
I feel like Notre Dame's going to play a lot of man blitz action. Get pressure, and you're going to have to beat me 1-on-1. So I feel like Notre Dame going to play a lot of man blitz, a lot of man, and try to get into Carson Beck's head, make him throw that ball 1-on-1 and see what happens.
Notre Dame adds 2 new defensive tackles. They add Devontae Smith from Alabama. Great corner. Really wish Alabama could have retained him this year. And he's highly skilled. Right. And alongside Leonard Moore, you're going to see 2 great corners. And I know they may play Devontae Smith at the strong safety position. I haven't looked at the exact starting depth chart because he can kind of flex between those 2. But either way, you have really a whole great secondary with Notre Dame. So I feel like I do happily agree with you, or fully agree with you in the fact that a man will probably be played a lot in this game, especially to try to make Carson Beck put the ball on the money. Because we don't really know how physically capable Carson Beck is in the start either, because he's coming off of a pretty large surgery.
It all depends on chemistry. How much chemistry has he had with the receivers and O-line and everyone else?
But also what I'm curious to see is how does Carson Beck handle physicality, and the fact that you're coming off of an injury last season that cut you were at the end of the season, right? But it cut your season short. Yeah. Whenever he gets back in that pocket, because
is he still dealing with that a little bit?
That he's fully recovered from it now. right? Because he started practicing. But that's one of those injuries that can come back, and that's something that stays in the back of your head. So I'm curious to see how he deals with physicality, especially if you have some of these guys from Miami get off the edge and really get some good hits on him.
Yeah.
And I mean, that'll be an interesting point in the game, But moving on to the score, I feel like in a lot of our predictions, we've been both kind of on the same, leaning towards the same teams, besides Alabama and Auburn. But RJ, moving on to the score predictions, what are we? We're going to start with yours first. What do you see here, and why? What's the reason for your having picking Notre Dame?
Well, my reason is I feel like Notre Dame's defense is too much for Carson Beck to handle, with him being out for spring and then just now practicing. So Notre Dame's defense is going to win them this game, but also Jeremiah Love is going to rush for a lot of yards this game. So what's your prediction?
I mean, I agree with you 1,000% on what you said. As far as Notre Dame's defense, I think they're the difference in this game. I have Notre Dame winning 31-20, and there's a reason for that. I mean, you look at their secondary. That's all the proof in the pudding that Carson Beck's going to have to make plays. And I think if Notre Dame can get off to a good start and be able to make Carson Beck make a mistake or two in the first half, or even just throughout the game, if they can force a turnover, or two, I think the game's won there. Right. Notre Dame's got to be able to establish something with CJ Carr, especially but I feel more comfortable knowing that Jeremiah Love's in my backfield. Whenever I have a younger quarterback, because I know Jeremiah Love can turn a little play into a 80-yard touchdown.
He's an athlete.
I mean, he's ridiculous. But all this to say, I'm high on Notre Dame because of their defense, majority.
Right.
No doubt in my mind that they're going to be the deciding factor in this game. Looking at bet predictions, you have Miami. Notre Dame. Their favorite is a 2.5-point favorite, -130 money line, and it's the over set at 50.5. I actually want to go with Miami 2.5. I mean, not Miami. Notre Dame 2.5 -2.5. I think they cover this by a decent portion.
I agree.
I don't think this is going to be a field goal game. I think if it ends up going to a ground game, while Miami has great backs, I'm not taking that away from them, but Jeremiah Love is that guy.
He's an animal.
He is that guy, quite frankly. And you got Jarion Price behind him, you got Jarion Price, who is a great running back behind him. I don't think you drop off. I mean, you definitely drop off, but you don't drop off a lot.
Yeah. They also have a good receiving room. Don't sleep on that receiving room Notre Dame has.
No doubt. So
they just got to execute it.
So overall, the firepower that Notre Dame possesses is going to be too much for the Miami defense, and that's because I feel like it's the week 1 game. Right. If this was a week 4 or 5 game, we don't know what Miami team we're going to have then. Yeah. But at the moment, that's why week 1 games are so different. Especially when you have teams like Miami that add a lot of pieces to the transfer portal. Right. You kind of relate them to like a Florida State.
Yeah.
Right. They add a lot of pieces to the transfer portal last year. You don't know what you really have until the first game's played. And then, like Mike Norvell said, he adds in all these pieces that he didn't really know completely, and he was just like hoping that they would break out at FSU, and they didn't. And then you get stuck instead of getting some guys that are standout. And I'm saying really and truly, you don't know what you really have with transfers until they get on the field and build chemistry, and that takes a couple games. Spring practice is a great thing, but going against your own team is not the same as going against a team that you haven't seen.
Especially with atmosphere.
No doubt. So I think this Miami team will get better as the season goes on, but do I think they're good enough in week 1 to beat Notre Dame? No, I do not.
I agree.
But this has been the R&D podcast. My name's Dalton.
RJ.
We'll catch you next time.
Like, share, and subscribe.